Well, welcome to the second reading of this book over here. As a quick refresher, so you can remember what we had talked about last time, we had this beautiful illustration, and you can see Tim, and he's releasing his pet goldfish, Comet, into a pond. And so that was what happened last time, and I also had shared a bit of science about goldfish, things about their memory, their capabilities, also how to take care of them, and then also an image on my subconscious, and introducing the vocabulary that I use to describe it, and how ideas, the theme of all the subconscious images, or how ideas go from the subconscious into the conscious world. So now let's get on to the second part of this story. I'll begin with the illustration and just take a look. And so this illustration, Dave made magical, Dave Frankel. So the original one was this, and I'll talk about this later. But you can see that this is what Dave started with, and he transformed that into this breathtaking image right over here. So let me just bring it up closer so you can really observe it and be like, wow. So here you see these wispy clouds. Maybe it had just rained, and the sunlight caused that to evaporate and turn into fog. And there's almost a slight early orange tinge, not quite orange yet. So maybe this is right before golden hour, or maybe this is near dawn, who knows. But you have this beautiful illumination of this fog cloud. As you'll learn soon in the story, you have duckweed over here and green algae. Here's a mosquito, and the mosquito's egg. Here's a fish, Comet. And you can see the turbulence from his movement. Dave just added this shading to give it a feeling of movement. And take a look at that golden tip over here in the bottom. And you can see water is coming in through here as well. Okay, so let's read this story. Comet the goldfish did not miss his owner Tim because he did not know him for long. And again, from our last science thing that we talked about, goldfish can have, longish memories. So it is conceivable that Comet the goldfish would remember his owner Tim. But he didn't miss him. And would any goldfish miss their owner? Hard to tell, hard to know, because a goldfish life, on one hand they're getting fed, but on the other hand their freedom is limited to just this small aquarium. So in any case, he did not miss him for long, and he swam for days in the large pond, surviving off anything that he could eat. He loved to eat and ate pieces of plants like duckweed and green algae. He ate insects that fell on the surface of the pond, and mosquito eggs. So that's the story right there. Now here's the science part of it, and guess she kind of redrew these and really just exquisite. Look at that. And as many of you know, the first science fact is something I think this is common knowledge. The way that the mosquitoes reproduce is you have the mosquito, she lays her eggs on the water, and eventually, and these eggs can be eaten by the goldfish, and then these eggs turn into wrigglers, and wrigglers are kind of cute. They're like woo 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 woo. They move like that. Sometimes when I'm dancing, I bring in similar moves to that. And then the wrigglers will go into a pupal form here, and eventually it'll turn into the adult mosquito. Now, one of the facts that I share in this section is that the adult mosquitoes don't actually need blood. What they drink is fluids from a plant. They'll drink the nectar, things like that. The reason why blood is needed, and it's only needed by the adult female, is that she takes iron and proteins from the blood to create her eggs. And so it's really only the mother mosquitoes that are coming and frustrating you. There's also many species of mosquitoes, many of which don't draw blood from humans. So those are some interesting facts over here. Now the fact that I was not as aware of, take a look at this image once this focuses, of the mosquito and its mouth part. So the mosquito has a proboscis which sticks into the skin and draws the blood. What I did not know is that there's 6 parts to that. 6 little straws or whatever you want to call it. And so the two of them, the first two go in and they have like little saws at the end of them and they saw the skin. Wild, right? And then there are 2 more that open the hole that the saws had just created. And so then they open it. And then there's a 5th one that goes inside, and the 5th one has a receptor that knows where the blood vessel is. So this one goes in, finds the blood vessel so it can drink. And then the final one, the 6th one, goes in and puts an anticoagulant so that the blood doesn't clot, so it can get its full drink of blood. What an extraordinary creature that is. So that was a new fact that I had learned. Now, a lot of what I wanted this book to be was a book that had complexity in it, that talked about positives and negatives. In a way, the goldfish, the main character you empathize with, it's, you could say, the good guy, but we also put in this storyline of it being invasive, and in the science part of it, it being invasive, and so the complexity of, oh, actually it's damaging the ecosystem, so it has this element of negativity associated with it. In the same way, the mosquito we all hate, but could there be some positivity? Could mosquitoes have some positive role? And it turns out that they may. So first of all, because the adult mosquitoes are drinking nectar, when they go to plants and get that nectar, they get pollen on them. And then they'll go to another plant and transfer that pollen. And so they're pollinators. They help plants reproduce. That's a positive. Another positive of the mosquito is that it's part of the food web. So birds, amphibians, insects, they all eat mosquitoes. And so the mosquito provides food for others. And then, maybe slightly philosophical, but this is kind of interesting. I found an article, which I've cited down here, that says that certain areas that have so many mosquitoes, these areas are avoided by mammals, like the caribou. And it turns out that if you then prevent the caribou from coming into an area because there's so many mosquitoes, those caribou don't trample and eat all the plants there. And so some types of unique plants exist because the mosquitoes are essentially protectors, preventing caribou, other mammals from coming into the region. Another article had talked about how one benefit is that it keeps humans away. And humans, of course, can both build but also significantly damage the ecosystem. Now the next thing is the subconscious. And so let's see how to do this. Like this. Okay. So the subconscious part of it, like this, it's easier. The subconscious part of it, the previous illustration was about how thoughts go from the subconscious to the conscious mind. This one is more on how these thoughts can sometimes be distracting. So just like my previous drawing, I have a double-layered membrane. This is in the shape of a third eye or the entrance into a womb, because both take in information, they release information. So that's just one of the aspects of my artwork that I have. And everything below it is the conscious world. Everything above it is the subconscious world. And you can see the subconscious world has these little creatures in it, which are called the zimbers. And the zimbers, they all look alike. You know, the clouds are zimbers. This creature, which I'll talk about in a second, is a zimber. And this is, again, the idea that, let's say someone says something negative to you and it's looping in your subconscious. Well, at the end of the day, that's all you. The only thing that exists in your subconscious is you. It's your neurons, it's you as a person. So even though there's negativity that someone else has done, it's as if it's transformed into yourself. And the reason I try to conceptualize it that way is that then I need self-care, even for that negativity, because it's a part of me that's hurt. It's me that's releasing these toxins into my thought. And so a lot of what I explore, such as in the Justice versus Vengeance event that I did, is how do I take these traumas, these negative things, and turn artwork into it? A lot of my drawings are me trying to digest some of the negative things that have happened to me. So in any case, then at the center here is, let's see, how was I doing? The center over here, is it in focus? Sorry, I need to practice this. This camera focuses on faces, so it may not be. So this is the Demon 5 minutes. And the Demon 5 minutes is, I use the word demon because what it does is it goes and distracts my mind every 5 minutes. All these thoughts bubble up from my subconscious, and every 5 minutes I'm getting distracted, I'm getting frustrated, I'm getting irritated. And in the in the Kali event that I did, I talked about the idea of how demons are essentially things that distract you from connecting to the larger oneness, and so distracting thoughts can be that. But just like everything else in this book, like with the mosquitoes, it's not negative. The demon initially is negative, but it can also be positive. You can harness that distraction as being an engine for creativity, but that takes a lot of effort to be able to do. So the demon 5 minutes is not necessarily negative. You can see that the demon, maybe it's hard to see here, but the arms are phalluses that are penetrating my conscious mind. So if this is subconscious, it's like injecting these distracting thoughts, which is what that little thing over there is, a distracting thought. And then my conscious mind, like a hungry fish, just gobbles up everything that this demon 5 minutes is producing. And around it are standing waves. And standing waves are a function of the boundary conditions, how this is structured over here. And so again, some of that might be structured by Mother Nature, but it's also how do we structure our mind? And how do we interpret these things? And if you can structure this properly, those standing waves can maybe generate something quite beautiful from these distracting thoughts. And that's been part of what I've been exploring. Coming into the conscious world, you can see all of the structures here are motivated from the last one science section, this diagram here. In this diagram are physics equations this is a summary illustration of the physics equations and dynamics that happen in a pond. And so I take that again to represent that the conscious world has a lot of cause and effect happening over here. So that's what all these little math equations represent. And then this is the sensory information that is flowing into this world over here. And let me just double check and make sure I got everything. Yeah, and then this is not bad. It's only negative when my conscious mind loses control and cannot stop eating the distractions. So that's true. Okay, well, that finishes this part of it.